The AI models are tools. They are not the leader. They are not the decision maker. We should not, nor can we, allow it to make the decision and just take the data straight out of an AI model. They don't understand the battlefield as someone who's overlooking the battlefield or the mission at hand. So the human in the loop, we can't lose that. We can't lose the critical thinking because then we lose our leadership.
It can help us work through data. It can provide frameworks for thinking about things, but it does not provide judgment. That's the job of the human, of the leader. Welcome to Science of Leadership, where we explore leadership both practically and scientifically. What makes great leadership, why these things matter, and how we can do them well. Those are the questions we wrestle with through thoughtful discussions and real-world stories. I'm Tom Collins, and I'm delighted to have you join us on this journey to becoming a better leader. Today, we're discussing a topic that is impossible to ignore right now, and that's artificial intelligence. For some people, AI feels exciting. For others, it feels unsettling. And for many leaders, it feels like both at the same time. Our goal in this episode is not to treat AI like magic, and it's not to treat it like a threat looming over humanity. Instead, we want to talk about it in a practical way. What role should AI actually play in leadership? How can leaders use it to improve decision-making? And how can they help their teams understand that, when used well, AI is something to engage thoughtfully rather than fearfully and reflexively? Joining me today is Dr. Thomas Easterly. Dr. Easterly served a distinguished career in the military and retired from the Army. He holds a PhD in education. He now works as the Director of Plans Analysis and Integration at Carlisle Barracks and has developed substantial expertise in artificial intelligence. Thomas, thank you for joining me today on the Science of Leadership, and thank you for your service to our nation.
Tom, thank you for having me and discussing this topic. It's an honor to be on this program. This conversation is one I've been wanting to have for a long time. It's discussions that are in leaders' rooms that they're iffy about and they don't know exactly how to use it, but this is a topic they can't walk away from. So I'm glad we're having this discussion.
Well, Thomas, I want to start with the big idea for today. I think a lot of leaders are trying to figure out where AI belongs in their world. They're hearing huge claims in every direction. Some people talk about it as if it will solve everything. Others talk about it as if it will categorically destroy everything and be something they should fear. So let me frame the conversation this way. What should a leader understand at the most basic level about the role AI ought to play in leadership?
So the first thing they should understand is the AI models are tools. They are not the leader. They are not the decision maker. A lot of times people walk in the room and either AI is a savior or a threat. It's neither. It's a tool that we use to understand capabilities and provide us with courses of action based on good information either put into the model or information the model already has. So it's neither. It's an extraordinary tool that leaders can use to make informed decisions. They shouldn't be worried about it. They should embrace it and learn how to use it and feel more comfortable when their teams start using it.
I think that's a great starting point for us. This idea that AI is a tool and it's something that we can use to support leadership. As you said, it's not the leader. It's something to be used. The human being really is still there to provide the judgment, the values, the accountability, and the wisdom. When people hear AI and leadership, I think many of them either imagine something very technical or something very abstract. Bring this down to earth for us. What does AI actually look like as a leadership tool?
It can go from A to Z. It can be both a tool that looks at a holistic view, or it could be a tool that looks at a smaller level decision-making view. For instance, a staff officer who never sleeps, he knows everything about you and can produce a draft paper in about 90 seconds. AI is that on steroids, provided good information. Practically, when I work with leaders, we do stress tests on information. We put information in the system and we ask it, what could go wrong with this?
Yeah, that's helpful. And this idea of asking questions, and I know we'll get to this probably a little bit later, but a book that I know we've both read, The AI-Driven Leader by Jeff Woods, really helps with that, helping to formulate those questions and know how to interact with AI in a way that is actually very helpful. So rather than imagining AI as some independent force out there, we really should think about it as something that helps us as leaders do several things better. That's understand, analyze, prepare, and communicate.
Right. So I've read that book. I think Mr. Woods does a great job of explaining AI at different levels, corporate levels and things of that nature. He's had great interaction with CEOs, COOs, and leaders at that level. And he explains very well how AI, generative AI specifically, is used to enhance an organization. One of the most underrated applications in AI is what I said earlier, is the pushback. You want to challenge it. AI is not just there to answer your questions. You want
Right. It's not Google per se.
Right. And that's exactly right. It's not a 3-word, hey, What color is the sky? That's a great answer. Let me cut it and paste it into a memorandum. Hey, here's my course of action. What could go wrong with it? And here are some specific items about the mission per se, right? No matter what the mission is, abroad, domestic, or whatever. As easy as I've got 20 security guards and I only, I need 30, but I have 2 gates to man. What is your recommendations based on 12-hour days for 6 guards apiece or something of that nature? AI will push back and say, if you did that, or maybe you should do this, and it gives you courses of action. And again, as the leader, as the boss and the decision maker, you make the final judgment call. That's the human in the loop. That's what we can't, and I'm sure we'll cover it later on, but what we cannot forsake is me as a boss or you as a boss or my commander or the general making a decision without a human in the loop. AI is great data, but it has to be validated, and you have to put human in the loop for those courses of action because you're putting people's lives at stake potentially, or employees or soldiers, whomever, and you have to take that onus on. So you have to understand it and ask questions about the validity of the data.
That is a vitally important thing. AI can do what's called hallucinate. And so it can come up with ridiculous answers. And if you're not actually paying attention, it could lead you astray. And so I think this is a good thing that you've hit on, stepping back from the hallucinations, is that it's a decision-making tool. It helps us hear the data we provide some perspective and get it to help us identify potential courses of action. And then we, as the leaders, make the determination as to what's the appropriate direction that we should be going. That can be very helpful. It can be very timely too, because leaders, we often have to prepare for these high stakes decisions without having perfect information. The environment may be changing quickly. We certainly see that in our world at this point. There may be a lot of anxiety in a given organization. Maybe there are consequences. Truthfully, often there are consequences no matter which direction that we go. So, thinking about that, how can AI be helpful in those sorts of moments?
So this is where AI earns its keep, right? Normal decisions are made under 3 conditions: uncertainty, time pressure, and incomplete information. What AI does is it explores that decision space quicker, as long as you provide it good input, which is a prompt, and we'll get into prompting later, but that also, a good prompt keeps you from getting hallucinations. The better the prompt, the better information you'll get, and the less likelihood of it giving you data that's incorrect, just blatantly incorrect. However, you should know that by now. If you're a subject matter expert in the area, you'll know that definitely does. The sky is not, pink, blue, and yellow at the same time unless it's a rainbow or something. But sometimes it does come up with that. I think in the years I've been dealing with generative AI, I've had 2 hallucinations. I've typed in, that is the wrong answer, you hallucinated, or something like that. And the next one was spot on. I validated it, and I moved on to the next mission I was working on. So the preparation for the decision and the better preparation using AI with good information always produces a better decision. You want as much information as you can from the model or load it up into the model, and it provides you, again, courses of action, and it'll actually provide you action plans for those courses of action. And if you want it to, it will provide you a metric to measure the success of that action plan. And that's where we make our money. If we're happy, if we're satisfied with the plan it gives us and the action plan to accomplish that, then you ask it to do a couple metrics so you can measure the success of the plan. And it does. And then you as the human in the loop, you're able to say, I like that metric. I like that metric. I'm not happy with this one. I want to change this one to reflect this. And that's where we come in. We can change the data it gives us to fit the scenario that we're asking it about. We should not, nor can we, allow it to make the decision and just take the data straight out of an AI model. They are computer programs. They have no human feeling, no emotion. They don't understand the battlefield as someone who's overlooking the battlefield or the mission at hand. So the human in the loop, as I'll make this a theme through the whole discussion, we can't lose that. We can't lose the critical thinking, because then we lose our leadership.
Yeah, I mean, AI fundamentally does not have the capability for judgment per se. It helps us prepare.
Correct.
It can help us work through data. It can provide frameworks for thinking about things, but it does not provide judgment per se. That's the job of the human, of the leader in the situation.
100%. That is something we cannot forsake. No matter how great AI gets, no matter how we are enthralled with the answers, they're just awesome. It's, that's like gold. That answers that, we're going to go do that. Even if you feel that way, a leader should step back, negotiate with itself, and provide you. So this is the answer I gave you. It's good as gold, but these are 3 things that could go wrong with it. Now you have a full plate of information that you can shop with your staff and have them have human input. Yes, sir, I've seen that before when I was over here. Hey, ma'am, I've seen that. That's not going to work like that, because AI knows a lot. It's trillions of data points depending on which model you use, but it is not the end all be all of making that final decision.
Some people may hear this and think that maybe AI is helpful for these decision-making processes or analytical work or things like that, and not so much for the human side. I'm wondering, what about communication? how do you see AI helping with communication?
I was working with a leader who had to give his staff some not so good news, with structure, with positions and things like that. And every time he wrote the message, he's like, "Tom, I can't either. I write it too hard or I write it too soft. I can't get it where I want it, so it doesn't. I want people to know I care, but I don't want them to think I'm a hard butt about it." So we threw it into AI and we told it, "Hey, this message is going to address this problem, and in the context of we're talking to civilians who are going to keep their jobs and some that might be realigned to another office or maybe lose their job. And also, how will this affect their spouses who are going to receive this information secondhand from their husband or wife?" Right? We put that in AI. It came out. It took about 20 minutes because we kept prompting it in different ways to see what the response was. And the response he got, we asked it for three to pick from. And I said, well, why don't we ask it to combine the three with a softer tone that relates to the population you're addressing? And we put that in. It spit it out. He put it on a Word document, made a couple corrections because it's his product, right? It's the boss's product. And he briefed it and it went over well. And the workforce was able to take that information, understand it, digest it, and understand why it had to happen. It wasn't just, hey, I'm making this happen because I'm the boss. Higher headquarters is pushing directives down that I have to follow. And he was able to do that. And I thought that was probably one of the better things I've had a chance to work on was that because it affected people.
Yeah.
And as the leader, he took onus of it with some generative AI help, some model help, and was able to create a message that I won't say appealed, but it answered the questions to everyone out there. And in the town hall he held with them, I think he had maybe 6 questions out of like 150, 160 people, which is really good, right?
Yeah.
Because you would expect everybody's up in arms. But I think the last thing he said was, "It is my job to ensure that everyone has a job when this is over." And I think that was the culminating point. And he added that was one of the things as a human, as the boss, that he added at the end of his speech or the end of his talk. And I thought that was really good because AI didn't add that.
Yeah. Let me pause here for a second and remind our listeners that my book, The 4 Stars of Leadership, is now available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and essentially all online outlets. It's getting rave reviews, and I'm certain you will find it not only informative, but also inspiring. So I hope you'll order your copy today. Now let's get back to this interesting conversation. This really matters, that it can be used to help form the message so that people will receive it well. I think if we look at it, many leadership failures are not failures of intent. They're really failures of communication. So we almost always know what to do, but we don't necessarily know what to say or to say it in a way that people hear. And I think that that's something that a lot of people don't realize that AI can help them with. I think that a lot of people out there may be thinking about AI administratively. Oh, I could use it to analyze this, let's say, spreadsheet, or look at time charts, or do something quantitative like that, as opposed to looking at it. The most common ones are large language models. So they actually are probably most ideal for helping craft messages. What would you say?
They are. A lot of the issue comes with, like earlier, I have an idea and I want to articulate it to my team, but my team's diverse. I don't know how to get it to them. So from my mind to their minds, there's a gap. And depending on how fast the train's moving, we're always doing more with less. And, we call them 25-meter targets are right here. And you got to get to that one because there's one right behind it. An AI model helps you discern that message and you're able to add tone to it, right? Here's the message I want. Here's the population. Here's what I want to do. Here's the context. Let's make the tone soft but effective. And you ask it, provide me 3 choices. 3 options of a message. And this is, the end state is, this is the end state I want to put out. We are, increasing population by, let's be positive, by 200 people or 150. And I need your help rearranging, some things like that. AI will be glad to do that for you. But the biggest thing is I would recommend you always ask for at least 2 to 3 options or alternatives in your answer. You don't never want one. It'll give you a good one. If you put bad information into a Gen AI model, a bad PDF, the regs are outdated or the documents you want to reference are outdated, it's going to give you a great answer to bad data. It'll give you a great answer to, whoever won the 1969 Olympics and you upload a PDF that says, the wrong people, the wrong countries. It will tell you they did a great job at winning the Olympics and they never even attended it, right? So that's a little caveat to when we talk about information into Gen AI models. So, it's usually bad information in, bad information out, right? That's the saying. With AI, it's bad information in, great answer out. Great response. Like, this is
Based
money.
on that bad information.
Right, based on the bad information.
Yeah.
So what I recommend is when people are going to use AI models and they're going to do deep research or deep work, that they add a line in there that says, provide your references with URL. And AI will give you, I found this in Webster's, I found this on, DOW.gov website or something of that nature. And you can go and look at the reference, take a few seconds as the owner of the information and validate it. It still cuts down time. You're not writing the whole thing, 4 or 5, 600 word or 100-page document. You're checking the data that it provided you and making sure that everything aligns and you can move on to the next project. But if you're worried about references and validating information and hallucinations, you can always ask it. It's one sentence, provide references, URLs within your answer.
Yeah.
And usually they're straight URLs you can click on right from the prompt or right from the response to your prompt.
Yeah. Another thing that you can ask different models to do is just check yourself, or do a self-assessment on the accuracy of the information that you've just provided. They'll do that, and they'll, actually, this is wrong. What I said here is wrong.
You've done it. I can say you've had that. You've done that before when you've used them. Yeah. So when I do my workshops, I just did my 30th workshop and we crossed the 3,000 employee mark, which is crazy good. It's a lot of people, civilians and soldiers, who are at least aware of the base foundational course of using generative AI, and there's intermediate and there's other ones you can do, but just using the model is going to help them just get them started, right? So yeah, you can ask it whatever you want. You get people. I don't think the population that's using it understands how much power it has to help you be a leader. And if you want to move up to be a leader, it's going to help you do that too, because you can ask it for training outlines. Hey, I want to be, a senior executive in 4 years. What do I need to do? I'm at this grade or whatever. Now it will give you a plan of attack of what courses you need, and it understands Army and all that. So what Army courses you need, or what grades you need to be in, how long you need to be there, and even outside of the government, it'll plan out a lot of things for your career as an engineer, or an architect, or a food service provider. Whatever you want to do, it will give you a plan of attack, and you, as the person using it, can validate that.
Yeah, tremendous tools. Tremendous tools. Why should leaders not just be aware of AI, but become conversant with it?
Technology is going to be here. It's not going to leave. I don't really think anyone, especially leaders, can afford to ignore it. They don't have to be computer programmers. They don't have to be AI geniuses. They need to understand that the tool exists. Their best bet is to understand what it does and what it brings to the table for their team, not just them, and to start using it, because it's not going away. I mean, we're coming out with 2 or 3 more AI models probably this year within Department of War that we'll be able to use with the suite of tools that we have already. That's a lot of tools to start using. I normally tell people, use them and find out which ones that answer the mail for you the best. And then you go with those tools as much as possible, because when you start getting too many tools, you kind of get pulled. Which one am I using now? This one did that, or did this one do this? They all do about the same. Some of them do some graphics, pictures, but they all do reasoning. And that's one of the main reasons we use them, is the reasoning portion.
Thinking about the importance of AI, and we're obviously having a conversation and encouraging people to develop familiarity, utilize it as they see appropriate in their spheres, professional spheres, and that. Clearly, something that we see a lot right now is fear of replacement. This idea that AI is going to come in and replace people in different career fields, dehumanization, loss of control, that it's going to take over. And I think this is a place where, as leaders, as we start using it, we have to be thoughtful to help those that we're leading understand it is a tool and what it's actually for, useful for.
So I get asked that almost at every workshop: is AI going to replace me? And my answer is, have you been replaced yet? And they're like, no. I'm like, do you know how to use AI? And are you a value-added employee to the organization? Yes, I am. Are you pretty good at AI? Well, yeah, I review it and I put in information. I help the boss do it. Will some jobs overall be moved into more of an AI mode? They probably will, right? I'm not going to sit here and say that AI is not going to replace some types of work, because it is. But it depends on what type of work it replaces, and are you prepared to not be replaced? And that goes back to the other question of, I don't have to be an expert or an engineer or an architect of AI models, but I better know how to use them and how they're used and how to employ them in my workforce to make sure they're value added. But anyone that tells you AI is not going to somehow move positions around, right? It's not true. It's going to do something. It's just my thing is, what are you going to let it do? Because as we talked a minute ago, it's not going away. I think Sam Altman said it at one of the meetings I would listen to a video. AI's moving so fast, he can't keep up with it. And if he can't keep up with it, I darn sure can't keep up with it. But I can tell people, hey, keep up on the latest. Again, you don't have to be an architect or an engineer or anything like that of an AI model, but knowing how to use it efficiently and effectively, I think puts another feather in your cap to stay where you're at, or excel even.
That's something that I would really want people to understand, is the people that are more likely to be replaced are the ones who are not becoming more efficient, more capable through using AI. If you become capable and expert, I mean, I don't mean that as being like a computer scientist, but I mean able to use AI in meaningful ways in your career, then that will insulate you. That will improve your efficiency, make you, shall we say, desirable in a sense.
Marketable, right?
Marketable, that's a good word. To remain in your career field and to keep your job and even moving forward, right? Like right now, I think those people that are demonstrating capability with AI are probably advancing quite rapidly, where the other people that aren't are just sort of observing. And it's like I was saying earlier, those companies that are using AI are advancing. And if you're not, you're going to
Correct.
be left behind. And
Yeah,
so I think that that's the risk is that if
it
is
is.
not using it.
So it's like the auto mechanics of 45 years ago, even 25 years ago, without all the electronics, without all the new stuff and things
Yeah.
like that. They had to evolve to be able to learn to work on these new systems. And now with the self-driving cars that are out there, the electric automobiles, again, the paradigm has shifted from just gas-operated automobiles, right, internal combustion,
Mm-hmm.
to electric. The same way our watches have went from Timexes to digital quartz and all those things. If you're in that field, you're going to have to learn the newest thing because the oldest thing will still be there, but there won't be much of it. There'll still be a 57 Chevy out there that people love with the 350 big block or whatever's in it. But you're not going to be working on that too often. You're going to be working
Yeah.
on the, digitally enhanced, all electronic, digital screen,
Right.
electric automobile.
Yeah.
And you just have to grasp it and make yourself, as we said a minute ago, more marketable in that arena.
Well, let's pause here for a science break and talk about this. There's already important evidence suggesting that leaders should think about AI with both interest and humility. A 2024 systematic review and meta analysis in Nature Human Behavior examined 106 experiments and found that human AI combinations, on average, improve for performance relative to humans alone, but did not consistently outperform the better of the human or AI working alone. Notably, decision tasks tended to show performance losses, while creation tasks showed more promise. That suggests AI can be genuinely useful, but leaders should not assume that simply adding AI automatically produces better decisions. Structure, task type, and human judgment still matter, just as we said. There's also growing literature on automation bias and over reliance. Research in healthcare and public sector decision contexts show that people can lean too heavily on algorithmic recommendations, even when warning signs are present, which is one reason leaders must avoid outsourcing judgment to the tool. We talked about that just a little bit ago. This risk is not only underuse of AI, but overtrust in it. At the same time, trust is central to whether AI gets used well at all. There was another 2024 systematic review in Humanities and Social Sciences Communications that argued that trust and distrust regulate AI adoption. In other words, when people do not trust AI, they're less likely to use it, but trust also must be calibrated properly because uncritical trust is not the goal either. For leaders, that means the challenge is not simply persuading people to accept AI, but helping them develop informed, well-calibrated trust in it. So the science points us toward a balanced view. AI can help, but it does not remove the need for human discernment, and leaders must shape both its use and the culture around its use.
So those studies are spot on. AI use by itself produces a product. Human knowledge and intelligence produces a product. At times, the two combined produce a great product. But again, as we said earlier, AI does not have feelings or emotions, and it doesn't make the final decision. We cannot forego the human critical thinking in the loop. We can think AI is smart as a whip, which it is. It's pretty darn intelligent. I'll give it that. But it doesn't understand a soldier on the battlefield. It doesn't understand an employee putting down sewer lines on an installation. It just gets data. So I would say human interaction combined with a AI model with the right prompt and information set will give you a great validated answer that a human needs to check and make sure it's right. I do worry that everybody, both military, non-military, corporate, will start relying on AI models more heavily because the answers they're going to produce are going to be really good. Again, a really good answer to really good data is good, but a really good answer to bad data is not good. But you don't
Terrible.
know it. You don't know it.
As I'm reflecting on the science and the studies that are out there, it's the same sort of thing that you're talking about, is that AI is useful, but it isn't self-validating. You don't get better outcomes just because you've involved it necessarily. Better outcomes come when we use it well. And that's the crux, right? Like we've hit on the idea of prompts. It's communicating well with the model and knowing that the data
Right.
that you're putting in is those data are worthwhile and valuable. Then that's going to in turn affect the output.
So what I wrote down here, because I took a note because I've said this the other day, fluency is not the same as accuracy, right? The answer is great. Oh man, I can't believe that. That's exactly what I want to do. But the data is not good. The data is a year old or 2 years old, or the regulation or whatever you're using as a source document of information may not be the most up to date and could cause, and I'll use the word critical path to be followed. And that's again where we come in and go, yeah, that's definitely not right. I've seen that before. There's an updated, or go back into the model and say, hey, is this the latest edition of this regulation or book or whatever you're using? Because I'm trying to form this not just from a military standpoint, because
Sure.
it's corporate also. AI is global,
Mhm.
right? So if you're referencing information for an organization, and you're asking, pretty good prompts, right? You've got your prompt library up there and you've been doing this a minute. The source data you provided probably needs to be rechecked to make sure it's most up to date, or else you're going to get a great answer to a bad data set. And
Yeah.
that's definitely not what anybody wants. So fluency does not equal accuracy. Just because it sounds good doesn't mean it's accurate.
Closing out our conversation here, Tom, if we were hitting on, if you had one thing to give for a take home, what would be the practical resource for leaders that you would recommend for them to get going on being better?
So I don't need notes for that one. That one's use it and set. So the number one thing is your organization needs to be prepared to use AI. You can't just throw it at them and tell them, here's a couple AI models, have a nice day. No one should ever do that to anybody. But with an AI model, again, you're already fearful of it, kind of. You've never used it. No, you can't break it, but you think you can. The number one thing is to implement a generative AI campaign within your organization and complement it with use cases. Because I do workshops, but the biggest part of my workshop where I think we make the most money is use cases. I tell the people that are, online, we had about 1,000 the other day on, 1,060 actually, second largest we've had. And the use cases are what makes people want to use it. Oh, used it for memorandum. Oh, you did a draft operations order. Oh, you did your menu order for your new restaurant or something of that nature. It defined, it took the other 4 restaurants in the area and you uploaded their menus and you said, I want a menu that differs from this. And it gave you like 6 different items that you could put on there that are popular.
Yeah.
So, being, Army guy, campaigning, you have a strategic plan. And within that strategic plan, you have campaigns. Guess who can give you a good campaign with great information? An AI model. That is one of the things I think it does best, is strategic planning and visionary outlooks, 5, 10, 20 years out. Again, you're the SME and you have to review it. But if you give it the right information, you will be astounded by what it provides you for an outlook on a Gen AI campaign for your whatever organization it might be. If it's civilian or corporate or anything like that, a campaign plan gets you from A to B within a larger strategic plan. So that's what I would tell them. Get a campaign going, get your people engaged targets on it, give them some good use cases, and then let's see what they can do. Because really, once they get a grasp of it and find out that it does save them time, which is reallocated to higher level projects, because we can have a whole nother podcast on ROI, because no one really understands the ROI of using generative AI. It's not like saving $1,000 a month because you turned your lights off at 3:00 in the afternoon instead of 5:00. But there is an ROI on it, and it's super important, and it is validated. So maybe that's down the road, but not for this conversation, because it takes a minute to discuss how ROI is relevant to using generative AI.
Yeah. Well, Tom, thanks a lot for such an insightful conversation and helping us broach this idea of using AI in leadership and why that's really valuable. Thanks for joining me on the Science of Leadership today. Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Science of Leadership. We hope today's discussion gave you practical tools and a deeper understanding of how you can be a better leader starting today. Remember, leadership is about helping those we lead do great things. It's a journey of continual growth and learning. When we embrace that journey with curiosity, courage, and humility, we can confront challenges, overcome barriers, and foster environments where everyone can succeed. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow or subscribe, leave a comment, and share the episode with others who are passionate about leadership. Until next week, keep leading with character, competence, caring, and communication. This is Tom Collins. Let's keep growing.